My name is Davide Giovanzana and I'm from Switzerland, from the French part of Switzerland, Geneva, but with an Italian background, and at the moment I live in Helsinki, Finland. Whenever someone says Romeo and Juliet, immediately the first thing that comes in mind is love, and this is how the play it is associated. It's a romantic vision of love. And yes, indeed, there is an aspect of love, but there is another aspect that is very much present, which is repression. And the repression comes not so much because of a division between the two families. Yes, there is this division between the two families, but there is also a gap between the teenagers, the Romeo and Juliet, with their parents. And if you read the play, the term suicide is recurrent. It comes all the time. All the time, these two teenagers, Romeo and Juliet, are talking about making suicide. So I decided to focus on this very specific subject, suicide among teenagers or self-destructive behavior. And so I was discussing with a specialist here in Latvia to ask what's the situation around suicide among teenagers, and he was telling me that this is a big taboo, but the rate is quite high, and it's actually an alarming situation. And all these elements put together push me to think, okay, this should be the theme of this play. So we want to use Shekspīra and, let's say, the tension, the conflict inscribed in the play of Shekspīra, but applied to nowadays society, nowadays reality. The idea is not to point out who is bad and who is good, but just to show the difficulty of talking, the difficulty of finding a way to establish a dialogue. And already we could see in this first week of rehearsal will be aesthetically very beautiful. It will be a very powerful experience for the spectators, because my first education is painting, so I have a very visual approach to the stage, and for me the composition, that emotion are expressed also through the composition. It's really important. And then with the puppets there is a almost magical dimension that appears. So the combination of this topic, which is very problematic and dark, with a very poetic approach, I think it will create a very strong experience for the spectator. We are kind of harsh, or we try to be harsh. That's the reality of teenagers, but sometimes it can be also shocking.